Hey guys, welcome to AfterBuzz TV's Talking TED Talks. Today we're talking all about body dysmorphia and loving ourselves. Stay tuned.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Talking TED Talks, where we're going to be breaking down stop hating your body and start living your life for goodness sakes. This is a TED Talk by Taryn Brumfitt. And so this is really like the talk itself was about the messages we obtain about our bodies, how we appreciate ourselves, like why we value them, like what's the self-worth behind our bodies, and really what is the real problem? Like what is an actual real problem? Why are we so focused on our bodies? Like there are bigger issues out there. So that was Taryn Brumfitt's talk. And a little background about her, right? So we need to talk about our speaker because we don't have her or Skyping in today as we did in our last week's episode. She is an Australian writer and international keynote speaker, as well as a leader behind the body image movement, which really encourages women to value themselves inside and out. And she made a documentary called Embrace. And that was really about the narrative of her TED Talk. And this really came about really interestingly, so we want to get into that. But we also have a couple of special guests joining us in studio. So to my left, first up, I have Yael Tygiel.
Hello.
Who is an entertainment host, writer, and also body positive image activist.
Yeah.
You have your own platform as well called thefatgirlshow.com.
Yes, I
do.
do.
A blog. Pretty amazing. And we also have another special guest joining us here today, Egith van Dinther.
Yeah, correct.
Who actually started off interestingly as an equestrian.
I do.
And then you were discovered at the age of 16 as a supermodel, and you've had the honor of working with George Clooney, Nicole Kidman, and brands like Ralph Lauren and Oscar de la Renta. So it's really taken off, and now you're getting into your acting and hosting as well. So we have a very, great balanced narrative, and that's what we want to bring you week on week. And
Amen. Thank y'all for coming in.
Yeah.
Thank you for having
But
us.
please give it up for my girl, Miss Yasmine. You got to intro yourself, girl.
I know, right? And then here my co-host
Hey,
here.
it's your boy DJ Jesse J.
There you go.
All right, y'all. So let's get into it. Some TEDucation. All right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna throw out our top 2 takeaways from this TED Talk, and let's break into some discussion. So for me, the one it kind of so last week we talked about social media and the influence that it has on us, on our mental, and they talked about social currency and how we have become as people basically. We're selling ourselves. We have become this mentality that I have to get likes for how I look. I have to get this many comments to establish that I am a real person. So in this TED Talk, she said that there was a point in her life where she never felt like this, but as she got older and her body had changed, she said, I thought my value as a person depended on how I looked. And that was, out of everything, really sat with me for a minute because I think I actually spoke about it last week too, but it really bothers me, the world that we live in, the messages and the toxicity that is being thrown at people, and we don't even realize it. We don't realize, I don't judge people based on how they look. Oh, we're so easy. Oh, I'm not racist. Oh, I'm not this. Oh, I'm not that. But we are, and it's okay to be these things, but as long as you realize that I have these tendencies, I need to stop. Why am I so attracted to this? Or why am I drawn to this visual? That really sat with me because I think that this question is being brought up a lot now, but the discussion isn't being had. It's like, wow, yeah, this is kind of weird that I'm into that, but whatever. I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just going to continue doing that. What was you guys' takeaway from her talking about that?
I think that's really interesting, and that definitely I feel like our image is our currency, specifically in the fields that we all are in. Our image is 100% part of our currency, and I think it's really interesting to think about people not in an industry that is specifically image based, somebody who is a mom, somebody who is an accountant, somebody who is a desk job also has these issues, and their image also they think is currency. And that's super interesting because I remember reading some article about how when women are plus size, it may affect their getting hired for a job. It doesn't matter what the job is, it sometimes affects it because we have that inherent bias that we're not aware of.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
Iggy, so at the very beginning of the talk, she says, "You're fat, you're ugly, you're disgusting." And, you know, these are things I've said to myself when I'm looking in the mirror in the morning. You know, we go through these repetitive things and we're telling ourselves, this is what it is. Oh, I'll pull a little side chunk off me. I'll be like, "Oh, girl, I gotta cut this off," or whatever. "No muffins this morning." Working.
Too many last night.
Yeah, exactly. Or throughout the night and this morning. For you, what did that mean to you? How stern and direct that those comments were working in the fashion industry? Have you experienced those moments?
Oh, yes. I think that inner voice, everybody has it. Some people have it stronger. I had it really strong. I think you need to know, like, I've been in so many therapies, I read so many books, and I think they all talk about this voice in the head that makes you say, like, you're not good enough, you're fat, and this is, you can do better. And always this voice is talking to you, and you need to know that this voice is not you.
When do you think that voice of our body developed? Like, when we're young, we're not thinking, I used to run around butt naked, like,
I
not
know.
kidding.
That's why babies are so amazing, right? We look at babies and they
So
have
free.
no clue of what's going on. They don't have these issues because after a while, just people talking into you and the society, that's what makes the voice inside of you.
I also wonder, jumping off the back of what you had just questioned, Iggy, of like being in the fashion industry, had you ever had sort of photographers or people in production being like, "Hey, listen, you gotta like
Oh, yeah.
be
Vroom,
like this
vroom
right
it
now."
up.
Yeah.
Even now, my agency is always on top of things. Like, they can come and say, "Oh, Iggy, you went a little bit crazy this December month." Eh? I'm like, "Yes, I did. I'm human too, sometimes." And, and they'll tell you. And you have to have a really thick skin to keep up with this and be okay with it.
I almost think like we need to get back into our baby stage, and this was like my biggest education and takeaway of it, of like how we as babies, we have dimples, we're like little chub chubs, it's okay. And then when we're 25 and we see a little dimple or something, it's like, oh, get a gym membership, or
It's not cute anymore,
yeah,
right?
or get surgery done, or cover it up, or
Yeah.
something. And it's like, no, get back into that baby stage of mind and just be okay with it.
Yeah.
I definitely wonder when it is that parents stop going, "Look at these chubby cheeks," and go, "You should stop eating that." When does that happen? Because I think that, you're saying when we're babies, we don't have that internal voice, and that's true. But once we meet other kids and start playing with them, and at some point our parents do say to us, "You shouldn't eat that."
So it's almost like keeping up with the Jones, keeping up with the Kardashians, which we'll get into a little later.
Yes,
but
our special
so
segment.
outside social influences are really kind of what.
At some point, you start seeing other people and realizing that you may not look like them. And that's, I think, when it starts. But I also think that there really is, I remember being with my nephew and everyone talking about how cute his fat was. And I literally was like, "When was the last time y'all told me I was cute and fat?" I'm also the baby, and
no,
don't
but it's
get a
also
lot of
funny you say that because we'll have one of the TED Talks talking about porn and over sexualizing things. But it's interesting
When is
because
that?
we talk about plus size, but it becomes a fetish at a certain point.
Absolutely.
That it's we try to over sexualize everything, and it's like, well, this isn't normal, so we're gonna put it in this category, and now it becomes this new thing, and I think that goes back to almost online harassment, building these boxes and telling people, well, this is what you are. You're not normal. You're going to be this classified under this box, and this is what we tell you. So on Twitter, we had a poll this week, and we said, how often do you feel uncomfortable in your body? And shout out to everybody who, because
Yes.
this is honestly, like, it is hard sometimes to answer these questions, especially when we can see who's putting what in.
saying
You know what I
what,
mean?
yeah,
Who's saying what?
but-
And so 84% said they always do. They are always
84%.
feeling uncomfortable about their body. I'm one of those people, you know what I mean? There are days I just be like, I mean, at this point I laugh at it, but it's like there are times where I catch myself being like, ooh, I think about this too much throughout the day. 16% said never.
Wow.
And so-
Good for them.
I believe
I
that
want to
they're
be
winning.
part of that
Me
16%.
too.
Who are you? Let me learn from you.
Your poll was
Seriously.
always or never.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's so much in between
True.
always
Yes.
and never.
Yes.
I specifically didn't vote because I felt like neither of those were the correct answer.
What would have been your answer if the option was there?
Honestly, rarely, but there are times.
Okay. That's healthy. That's a
Yeah.
good answer there.
Wait, now, did that
took me a-
shift for you? Yeah.
Oh, it took me years to get there.
Yeah.
But now, if you've seen my Instagram, you know how much I love my body.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love that.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. My Instagram is just half naked photos all the
Ooh,
time.
you sexy thing.
Embrace
My
it.
mother's
Want
so
it,
mad.
embrace it, as we're
Wow.
going to get into. And I mean, I do want to mention that it doesn't surprise me in a sense that it is 84% because Taryn Brumfitt did find as well that it was 86.3% of all cosmetic procedures in the world are performed on women. That is a big number.
Yeah, and it goes into what the video was talking about. You know, she really, obviously, her experience as a woman, speaking from. Before we did this, the reason I loved this TED Talk, you know, I thought that Taryn was really good at delivering the conversation from a fact-based place versus throwing a lot of emotion in. Some things, there are certain TED Talks I love where it's so emotional based, you know, they take it away from that. Here's a dialogue, you know, a monologue that I'm just going to give you, you know. I felt like hers was very relatable, but it was very fact-driven. And it comes from a place of this is why what our bodies are for, you know. She walked away with the last one quote saying, "Your body is not an ornament; it's a vehicle to your dreams." You know,
Great
it's funny because
Use it
I wrote that quote
wisely.
too.
a friend of mine made me throw a bunch of shoes out, and she was like, "Oh, what do you have these? I call them my shit shoes. You know, they're my shit shoes. If it's raining outside, I'm gonna throw these on. I'm gonna go outside. Oh, you're gonna let people see you in those shoes?" I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I don't care if I'm running in the dirt. Like, this is not the point of using the shoes, so they get dirty, so I don't get dirty. And yeah, she started saying this and making me feel like, are my shoes wrong? Are my shoes
Oh, you
bad?
started thinking? Really?
I started
That's such a
overthinking,
big-
and I
Wow.
threw the shoes out. And then she said this,
No.
your body is not an ornament. She said your body is a vehicle. It brought me to those shoes. And I was saying to myself, I was fine with my shoes. And I do this with working out too. I'm not uncomfortable with my body. I have become uncomfortable with my body.
Uncomfortable or comfortable with your body?
I have become uncomfortable with my body. I never used to have that
Wow.
issue.
Did that happen in LA or?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did.
What
It
a
did happen in LA.
What a surprise!
You know,
Yeah.
growing up, I always was running, working out. You know, I never like went to the gym. You know, and then my friend said this about the shoe. I'm watching this TED Talk, and I'm like, going back to what you were saying, Yael, these outside sources that are telling me, the media that is putting these images in my face that I see daily. You know, Taryn talks about the bus that drives by, that we're not even paying attention to seeing what is being programmed in our mind as the new standard.
And this has been going on for centuries, though, especially for, like, I don't want to say especially for women, but it has been especially for women. But there are men, like you are also experiencing, and Iggy, you will touch upon it as well, because we were talking about it, how men also are, like, focusing on their image. But that's because I feel like we're so much more exposed to what should be the body form or the ideal that we should strive for. Before it was billboards and magazines, and then eventually taxis, and now it's like all over social media and the web, so it's like even more amplified. But obviously we're going to become more sensitive towards it.
Yael, how would you say we can start to change that conversation?
Thank you. I have the solution.
She's waiting for this moment. I feel like it's
So,
coming.
okay, here's the thing. Years ago, back when I still watched things on Tumblr, you know, before they got rid of all the good stuff.
We talked about that last
We
time.
talked about that last
I
time, how they're
know.
starting to blur stuff on Tumblr.
know.
Just
So-
as a recap.
Back on Twitter.
Before that, I started following a bunch of plus size body positivity blogs on Tumblr. And then I started, my Instagram feed is almost exclusively plus size models, plus size brands, and then people I know in real life. What ended up happening was my brain changed. I stopped seeing models, straight size models, you know,
what the world is telling you.
Yes, the models that we're seeing all the time, Victoria's Secret models. I mean this as there's no offense to models.
Thank you.
But it changed my brain. And so when I, for the first time, was looking at clothing on Torrid.com and then went to Forever 21, I was jarred at the image of the 12-year-old girls modeling clothing. And I went, oh my God. My brain changed. That's not the norm. That is a model. The norm, the average size in the US is a size 16 now. The norm is not the size of a model. And it changes your brain when you stop always looking at it. So my advice to people is follow people on Instagram that you know in person. Follow people that are your size or bigger. And do not follow people that you look at with the feeling of, I wish I had that body.
It's so crazy. Go back to last week's video.
it
This is a
really
part of
is.
changing our mental, you know, and making sure you build the social media that is positive to you. I just said I unfollowed a bunch of celebrities because you start comparing. It's like, I can't wake up every morning and the first thing I'm opening up is now I'm judging myself.
But I just want to touch upon the fact, though, and this is going to go to you, Iggy, because I think, you know, with models, like we're saying, it's not a true representation because often a lot of images can be photoshopped and whatnot, so we really don't know what the reality is. But at the same time, truthfully, like, you know, you probably have experienced this as well, where you're like, wait, I mean, why do I have to look this way? Or like, what kind of health detriments you've had to go through as well in order to look that way or be represented that way on those platforms?
Yeah, people need to know that most models are not naturally thin. You know, we need to do a lot of things to stay skinny and to, you know, keep up that model body. And a lot of these things are very unhealthy, especially there's so much pressure, you know, like I'm getting in my late 20s. And I feel the pressure. I'm sometimes working with girls that are 16.
Yeah.
And I'm 10 years older. And I still need to, like, work with these girls. I don't know if that mentally is
Look
really
at her
good
skin,
for me.
look at my body.
Yeah,
start
you're
to compare.
comparing all the time. And like what you said, I don't do on Instagram. I don't follow anyone. I follow my friends for sure. But I don't follow any Victoria's Secret models or anything that relates to my job because it makes me unhappy. I'm just there to post my own things and that's it. And then I close it down because it does make you think and judge and compare yourself to others.
I love that both of you guys hit this because another powerful sentence she said in this that really took me out was, if you don't conform, the media tells us if you don't conform, you will obsess over your body hatred. And it's something that is so true. Until I started physically going in and saying, okay, I'm making this change. I'm not going to look at this stuff. I'm not going to, you know, put myself in these shoes. Until I started doing that, I was obsessing to a crazy amount. You know, it's like how many diet things you looking at? It's like, you know, you're looking for quick fixes instead of, okay, what's the real first step that's going to help me mentally? Because if you're not working on your mental, your body is going to match that.
Yeah, so true. It's going to translate that. Mind over matter. It does translate.
It's interesting because we were talking about the messages, you know, when she said you're ugly.
Yeah.
It's
The program.
The other thing I always tell people when they ask me for advice is you look in the mirror and find one thing you love. Find something you love. It might be that you got your winged eyeliner perfect.
Yep.
It might be you're having a good hair day. For me, a lot of days it was my cleavage looked good. You find one thing and eventually you start seeing more things about yourself that everyone else sees. Everyone else is like, you're beautiful. So you just have to start telling yourself.
It's good that you say that because my journey started with Louise Hay and she does mirror work. So the first thing what you do is when you wake up and you see a mirror at any time of the day, when you see a mirror, you're just like, hey, you're beautiful. You're allowed to be here.
Instead of checking yourself
Instead of
every
like,
time. Because you'd be like, oh, it's my hair. Oh, it's my shirt.
Yourself.
Is my...
Yeah.
Be nice to yourself. Be kind. Like one of my therapists said, just touch your hand and say, oh, my beautiful hand, you're so beautiful. And it does help. Try to do it. It's like, oh, you beautiful hand, you're so gorgeous.
Self-appreciation, self-love.
Yeah.
That's what it's
Be
all
nice
about.
to yourself. Even if you know, like, I sometimes in my chubby periods, I just look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, I love my soft chubbies. And it's like, I'm a cutie. And then it makes more sense. And I love myself more when I say, oh, I'm a cutie, instead of, oh, you're fat or you're ugly.
She made this comment. She said, we aren't using our minds to the max because we are anchored down. Every time you use one of those negative thoughts, your mind is so conformed on, okay, well, now let me obsess over. Okay, you don't like this on the side of you. Okay, you're sitting over here. You don't like that you put that extra 5 pounds on. You know, let's just sit here and obsess over it. And now let's compile all these different ways to try and fix that problem that we're not really gonna fix because we're trying to look for the quick fix.
But do you think it's an interesting time that we, you know, now that we're having this conversation, right? And this is really to bring awareness. And I feel like before that wouldn't really have been a conversation. And I think I gotta give kudos to some of the companies out there like Dove who have been
I love that
putting out
campaign.
models that are real, you know, well,
Beautiful.
real people, not models, but like people, and you know,
Yes.
like a true representation of different body types and forms and everything. And so
Yeah.
I think, you know, they have slowly been trying, not everybody's on board, but, you know, eventually I think it's starting to have a ripple effect.
It's
even
funny that you say, go ahead.
No, on the fashion shows, you know, like I've done New York Fashion Week, LA Fashion Week, Paris, London. And every year they say, oh, yeah, we're going to have more diversity. And it is coming slowly. You know, it's not like now we have like one plus size model per show, or like it's getting better. It's slowly getting better.
Yeah, Ashley Graham was there the last few years. Christian Siriano's doing lots of things with plus size models. Rihanna's entire beautiful lingerie line. She's doing all sorts of shapes. She's got people with disabilities, different shades.
I love that.
Amazing. But, you know, these things are changing and it is happening. Dove is definitely making a move. They were not the first. You know, Lane Bryant a few years ago had a lingerie commercial that was pulled from TV because it was too risque, yet Victoria's Secret, which had much less fabric, was appropriate. You know,
Crazy.
It's the media depicts and chooses what's acceptable.
I mean, going on that, I just really want us to touch upon that little embrace clip. And that, how did you feel when you saw that? Like, the little...
Exactly like she said, hungry and horny.
Right?
You know, and it's just, you know, it almost was like I was so numb to it because I have this conversation daily. I drive by a billboard. I see a kid on the street, and I'm like, how old is this person? Why are we over? Everything is sexual. I go past an ice cream shop. It's a girl's tongue licking on this thing. Like, you know, we're taking words for companies that are like, F it. You know what I mean? And everything is over sexualized. And, you know, I don't think we really have come to the understanding, and you know, we can bring tech into this too, because it's opened the world of pornography up to us. To, you know, we don't know how to deal with these things. School does not teach you how to deal with your sexual emotions and whatnot, and it is important because if you're being programmed at such a young age to think this is hot, this is what I'm supposed to be attracted to, this turns me on,
and this is what I'm supposed to look like to turn other people on.
And that goes back to both perspectives of male and female, like female then buying into it. Like, personally, when I saw that clip, I was like, oh my God, yeah, like, I gotta look like this, I gotta move like that. And then I'm thinking, like, from a guy's perspective, that must be like, oh yeah, that's so hot, like, I need to have a
if
girlfriend
they
like that
tell
or
you
something.
to buy it, you will.
Yeah.
You know, and so I want to take this right into our special segment, Case Scenario, where this Kardashian case study, y'all. And so I was reading this, and it's funny because there's a few of them out there, and they talk about the standard of women and how the Kardashians are this double-edged sword because they represent a group of women who have come out in the media who stand for women who are thicker, have curves and whatnot. But are these women
She's got something
truly
to say.
that definition? Because at the same time, we're looked at this to say, oh, wow, women's rights, she loves her body, she does this, yet she changes her body to make it
Photoshop.
look a certain way. You don't see those dimples, you don't see those marks, you don't see those curves. So is it really that this is body positivity, or is it that we have now body shamed ourselves to a point that this is the new beauty standard?
Yeah, like Iggy.
Hit it on home,
Seriously,
guys.
I feel like you two have something to say on this.
No, well, actually, Kelly Jenner, right? She's one of the most famous top models right now. But how many surgeries has she done to her face? Can we call her a model? Like, this takes away. She's taking away my job.
Yep.
Like, you know, what do you want? I think a model should be naturally 5'11", have that natural face by itself. She should not need any surgery. But I feel here in LA, everybody has done something to their face, and that's really hard for me to
It's true, because
trigger.
I mean, I remember that the times of like when you want to become a model, you've got to look
a
natural.
certain way. Yeah, no makeup, less is more, you know. And I think with the Kardashians, of course, they say more is more. I've
even
never
more.
seen an episode without makeup. Have you ever seen them without makeup? They always look perfect. They're always like, right?
Interesting.
There's no movement.
My thought is, I know that there was this amazing thing where people went, look, they're curvy. Because, yes, they have curves. There
And
are
at the
shapes.
very beginning, they were much more natural of those curves.
Like
Yes.
she did embrace it.
The, Chloe was...
There's so many of
I know.
them.
Sorry,
She's actually my favorite.
also, you said one of them, and I
went
went,
through
I can't
stuff.
remember which one that is.
Courtney, Chloe, Kim.
Doesn't matter, I don't know
Kendall,
which one's
and
which.
Kylie.
Oh,
Chloe
you
was
are
the
a
one.
fan.
Rob.
Reality here.
It's my job.
Chloe was the one that was referred to as the fat one.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Previously, which I find hilarious in that she was the tallest.
Yeah.
She just didn't have the same shape that they did. And that was the difference. So I thought that Kim was curvy. I would see images and go, that is a curvy woman. The same way that when Scarlett Johansson started hitting red carpets, everyone went, oh, so curvy. Yes, she has more of a shape than, let's
And beautiful
say,
boobs.
Right.
I wish I had those.
than, let's say, Cameron Diaz or Gwyneth Paltrow. Sure, there is definitely more of a shape. I then saw Kim Kardashian stand next to Ashley Graham and went, oh my God, Kim Kardashian has zero curves.
Yeah.
She's tiny.
Interesting.
It's perspective. It's we're seeing them next to other people.
Yeah.
If we saw them in real life with real people who aren't celebrities, you would see what they look like. But we're seeing them on a carpet next to smaller people.
Yep.
And imagine like the rest of the world how they perceive them,
Right.
or anybody really, because at least we do kind of see that here. I feel like you are exposed to that, and people try to look in that shape and form. Like I've seen so many doubles of Kardashians.
I know,
Yeah.
and especially the makeup
they
look.
are the standard at this point. They are the
Yeah.
LA standard. Like out here, I'm sure worldwide, yeah, too. But walking around here, this
Especially
is
around
what the
Yan.
girls are trying to.
Which is
Oh, yeah.
interesting because when I was growing up, the standard was blonde
Yep.
and white, and I think it was more Pam Anderson was the standard.
Yep.
Again,
Interesting.
curves, but again, put
No.
it next to Ashley Graham, and I go, where are the curves?
Right.
I just want to quickly touch upon this because it was interesting in the Embrace documentary. They went through periods of what the standard of a woman's definition was, or the look of a woman's
Yeah.
definition.
Because look at Marilyn Monroe. You go back then.
Yeah, like the 20s was no boobs, straight up and down, petite. Hollywood era was big boobs, small waist, curve galore, which sounds super unnatural. 60s skinny,
disagree.
tall, delicate. No, but it sounds unnatural when you have small, like big boobs, small waist, and then curves. Like, how does that work
Hourglass
out?
shape, girl, I got you.
Like, really?
I'll
Like,
show
I
you.
feel like you have to
Yeah.
wear this corset that like really curves
Yeah,
you
yeah,
out or something.
I'll show you pictures. That'll be great.
Okay. And then you have the 60s, skinny, tall, delicate, and the supermodel era, which is athletic, big boobs, long legs. 90s was a little bit more gaunty, very pale. And then today, big boobs, round toned butts, and then thigh gaps.
You gotta look
I'm
like the
noticing,
city girls.
Yeah.
Act up. Act up.
But I'm noticing this. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of women are like looking at the thigh gaps right now as well. I'm like thinking,
that's a new
when
thing.
was that? When did this become a thing?
We have over sexual. That the thigh gap is all about sex.
But I want to know from your from a guy's perspective, what are you like? What experiences are you having?
I mean, it's the same thing. It's interesting. I want to get. I'm going to get him in here. A friend of mine. He's actually the first guy I've ever had a conversation about my body issues with. Like, and he brought it up because he made mention. He was like, actually, it wasn't him. So this other kid. Well, it gets tied in. This other kid had made a mention. I mean, his body looks like a Ken doll. And I had more weight on than I do now. And he had said to me, or to the third person there, he said, he probably actually feels more comfortable with his body than I do. And everyone was like, what? Like, bro, like, you have ripped abs and this. And it made me look at him like, wow, you're that insecure? Like, but that's why his body looks like that, because he's so insecure. He wakes up every moment of his day is about, I ate this. So when I ate this, it's going to go to my body and it's going to do this to my skin. And I have to work it out.
That's an eating disorder right there.
Yep. And so then I was talking to my other friend about eating disorder with this kid. I was like, it was so crazy. I've never seen a guy talk like that before. And he was like, well, I talk like that to myself all the time. And I was like, you know what? I do too. And we've always put it on women, So then to take a magnifying glass and put it on myself, it's like, oh, this is why I do this. This is why I do. I hate the gym. I genuinely hate the gym.
Girl.
There's nothing.
I love it too.
And God bless you.
Endorphins,
God bless you. I will go. I'll go running
at
outside.
Yeah. See, I don't
I'll
do
go
that.
hiking.
I'll do hiking now and again.
I love natural fun, like outside. You know what I
that's-
mean? I like
yeah.
working out in that manner.
That's healthy too.
And
But when it comes to the gym, it's just not there. Like it's so boring. It's gross, and it made me start being like, well, I'm never gonna get in shape because I don't like the gym, or I'm waiting for this day where a trainer's gonna come into my life and make me feel like, oh, I understand it and I love it. No,
we're never gonna feel
I'm
happy.
cool. At the end of the day, I'm actually happy with myself.
Yeah.
I get in my head because, oh, well, everyone else in my field doesn't have a body that looks like this. Oh, well, look at how how they react when he takes his shirt off, or, well, but I don't want to be out here as a beefcake. You know what I mean? Like, you go through all these different thoughts and processes, and it's
Dialogues.
just like, I think it's important for men and women and us not to just put it on women, because it's equal on both sides, because women are doing it because men have this stigma in their head that's causing women to have certain insecurities about them, and vice versa too. Oh, yo, dick ain't da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? We talk about body parts and things like that. I mean, it is what it is, as crass as it sounds, but all of these things, it's harassment, and we keep programming, and I'm going to use that word. It's the best word to it, because we were not born with these things.
No.
And to take them away and to really peel that layer back, it's hard.
Right.
That's a hard exfoliation.
Yes, get right in there. There's a lot of damage control.
Yeah.
And that touches upon what Taryn Brumfitt also, the reason why she gave this talk was essentially because of this whole misconception of having, after, especially a woman's body just changes. We all change. All our bodies change according to circumstances. And with regards to her, it was because of her pregnancy after 3 children. She's saying her body's broken, fix me, surgery, whatever, and then does this whole bodybuilding thing, but then accepts her body. And finally realizing this bodybuilding did not make me happy.
No.
And that's the thing, like your friend who looks super ripped, and then he's insecure and everything, and it just makes you realize you're never going to be happy with yourself unless you just accept yourself and own the power of your body, that you are unique. Nobody has this body as you do.
And I honestly, to me, I question, are you healthy? I don't think that's enough that we ask the question. This kid's body, amazing. Do I think he's healthy? No, because there's drugs involved in getting his body a certain way.
Yeah.
And when you're going up and down and left and right, and you're drinking these drinks and doing all this stuff, that is harmful on your body. If you're not resting and you're not doing certain things. You know, I think we put, oh, well, this person, you're overweight. Well, what's actually overweight? What is actually an unhealthy, you know? My
When you're
mother
sick, I think.
visually would be considered overweight. When she goes to the doctor's like, she's healthy, you know? And it's this standard that we keep throwing people into these boxes.
Yeah.
I will also say there is a big discussion about, you know, when people see those who are plus size or overweight or obese or whatever word you prefer to use, and we start to concern ourselves with their health.
Yeah.
And the issue with that is that, one, it is very ableist of us, and it is very much an idea of, well, you're a good fatty versus you're a bad fatty.
No.
So,
well,
for
I've
example,
never heard that. It's a
Or
good
or
fatty
skinny
versus a
fat.
bad
No,
fatty.
they call
so,
it skinny fat.
yeah, so there's the idea that, well, it's okay if you're fat and healthy.
Okay.
But if you, for example, have some sort of condition, you know, or, you know, we judge someone based on whether we perceive it's okay for them to be fat or not, or them to be plus size. And I think that that's a very, very dangerous conversation to have.
Well, and go with that, kind of carry into that where you talked about, you know, the standard of what is plus size, what we think plus size, and what actually is plus size.
Sure. So plus size models, I believe, are size 8 to 12. And
Wow, 8
tiny.
already?
I've heard 8
But
as
I
the
thought
I
that
sometimes have a
Marilyn
size
Monroe
eight.
was a size 12, wasn't she?
Yes.
Sorry.
But the thing is, a plus size store will not carry lower than at smallest a size 12 and up. So, for example, Tess Holliday, who is a size 22, she is someone you would consider a plus size model. Ashley Graham also would be considered a plus size model. But then there are a few other models which ended up with a whole other campaign with the Drop the Plus discussion, models who were size 12 being considered plus size. And in no world do we look at them and go, oh, yeah, that's plus size. But the modeling industry does.
And it's that name, plus,
The plus.
right?
Plus.
Yeah.
Why does it have to be there?
It's really, honestly, the biggest issue is that the fashion industry wants to separate straight sizes and plus sizes. And for whatever reason, there seems to be some sort of miscommunication in the design world that you can't take a shirt and just adjust it to fit more sizes.
And I feel like too, it's like a lot of these stores are pulling European sizes, which is smaller, and so now
The
we're
Italians,
So now,
always the
no,
Italians.
now you're like, okay, as if we weren't mentally unhealthy before. Now we're saying, oh, there's actually small is actually smaller than the small that you thought it was small. I'm like,
my God.
what in this medium?
It's the small, medium, large system is very much a deceptive way to ruin your brain.
Yeah.
In that, I know that, for example, Tord, which is a plus size store, they carry their sizes 0 to 5, I believe, which is not what you would call a 0. It's a whole different thing, and it's
I
real
get
confusing.
confused,
I
yeah.
show up there and go, does this fit me or not? That's my question.
Well, don't we all? I don't know if you guys ever done that before, but I used to cut the labels if I would have a medium because I supposed to have a small, but the medium just
really?
fitted better,
Oh,
and I would
that's
just
interesting.
cut the label. Nobody saw
Who's
that.
looking at your labels?
Right,
You
but
are,
mentally,
but you are.
Mentally it
Yeah.
fucks you up. So yeah, I think
I love that. That's an honest statement to say that because
Yeah.
that's something
Some
where we
people do
think the
that.
world is looking, and it's like, no. I check myself on stuff like that all the time.
just
Like, bro,
ourselves.
you're in your house doing this by yourself. Okay.
Well, getting
what
into-
am I doing?
I want to get into our Teddy's talk because we did have a couple of
Yes.
like more Twitter polls and Instagram stories, and thank you so much for answering those as well because this goes on to what we were just talking about. How often do you compare your body and who's with? Most said always 24/7, or a couple have said about 3 times a day, usually after eating something. Like, I know I do that. And or when wearing a dress or something formal for an event. And then they compare themselves. There was a male who said to Santa Claus, I think, go ahead and compare yourself to Santa Claus.
He's a gift giver.
Yes. Instagram models, so, compared to other side of the family who have hips and butts, so that's within your network. And then the second part was, what part of your body do you wish you could change or cover up? And most would say hips, stomach, or your tush.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Which I think is like...
hips over, like, I would think waist or, like, your stomach. Like, stomach over
I mean,
hips.
stomach, I kind of, you know, like, you know, you kind of feel like, oh, do I have that bloat and that? You know, like, women as well, when we have that kind of once a month thing, like, it
you
has
feel
big
bloated.
effects on our bodies. Yeah, like, emotionally, mentally, and physically, everything. But, yeah, I am curious about the hips and the... But it's just something because of what we are exposed to. Going back to the Kardashian case
But
and
you
whatever.
just do some squats, you're fine.
That's it. That's it. All right, but let's talk about some real ways, some tangible tools that we can use to shift the conversation of body positivity. And one of them, I know I kind of brought up the ornament thing earlier. So I kind of want to flip it with a topic that I skipped over that she did talk about: tragedy versus sensationalized tragedy. You know, she talked about the over 400 girls from Nigeria who were taken from their school and, you know, trafficked right down the road. Everyone knew where they were, but legally there was no way for them to get them. They were hidden and all this stuff. That's a tragedy, you know. These shootings that are happening in our towns, that's a tragedy. But we have convinced ourselves that, oh my gosh, if I eat this muffin and that gluten gets into my pores and then it's going to clog my arteries, and then all of a sudden, like, now I have this on the side of me and I have breasts. I'm a man, I ain't supposed to have breasts. And oh my God, why do my pores look like this? And I just got to squeeze all my juices out of my face and I just look crazy. I can't go anywhere.
Trust me, I don't like skinny guys, so I like a little breast.
Right?
That's the new tragedy. You know, we're not watching the news. Instead, the news is, well, let me look at my face and let me create a reason why I don't want to go out with my friends. You know, she talked about becoming that person who goes to the back. When do you guys have those moments? You know, obviously you talked about it took you a while to get to that place of like, okay, this is who I am. Now I'm not looking at smut and trash. Like, I'm looking at the things that are going to help me love myself. You know, what's a moment for you now that you go through that, and how do you talk yourself out of that negative conformity?
You go first.
Yeah, I definitely will have a time where when I'm putting something on, when it's like your favorite thing and you put it on, and for whatever reason that day it doesn't fit right or it doesn't look the way you want to, and that's when I'm like, what? How did I? But I always look. This is my favorite. This is my most flattering thing, and then I have to go. Well, I got to leave the house, and this is my favorite thing, so I'm going to leave the house in my favorite thing, because I might think at this moment that it doesn't look great, but at every other moment it does. So I'm just gonna accept that and go, because my life is happening, and I don't have time to try on 15 different things and hope something works. That's what I do. Is I realize that the rest of my life is so much more important.
Isn't waiting for you to get dressed.
Right. As long as I've covered the bits that legally I need to cover, I can leave the house.
She's like,
I think that's actually
pasties
really...
and a cork.
That's an interesting point that I'm just realizing, is that especially in Britain, and maybe you can say as to how it is in the Netherlands, but there's so much value placed onto what you wear, and I love the fact that I think there's more people out here that don't care what they wear sometimes, like a lot more than I do see over there, at least. You know, there's a lot more people that are embracing like who they are, what they are, and whatever they want to wear, and just go for it. Flaunt it.
It's interesting you say that, because I feel the opposite. Specifically in LA, I feel like people put a lot of effort into what they wear, and I know walking into a room full of entertainment people.
We looked at each other.
I know that I'm going to walk into a room and I will look different than everyone. I know that going in. I know that when I came into this studio today, that I will look different. And the only thing I can do is wear what makes me comfortable and happy. And I have been spending all winter wearing leggings and a skirt instead of jeans, and it has made me so happy.
Well, isn't that the beauty of America, right? The freedom. That's why we all come here. All the Europeans, they think, oh, the American lifestyle, you can do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, dress and wear whatever you want, and, you know, have the
there's
American
no, like,
dream.
Big conformity. I feel we have stricter rules when it comes to how you present yourself. where you go. Like seriously,
Yes.
like restaurants and studios or wherever it is. Like you have to
Etiquette.
dress up always.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've really become a society out in America where the gym clothes is a thing.
Especially
in
here in
LA.
LA,
You
though,
can wear
because
your
it's
gym
more
clothes
about
for literally
anywhere.
75% of the day, and just get dressed for dinner
And I
when you're
love
going out
that,
with your
by the
friends
way.
or
But
whatever.
I
Even.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't even.
Or you just bring the coffee cup with you. You're like, sorry, I just came from
So
the
I just came
gym.
from this. It's totally acceptable. But see, it comes down to
You
again,
could
like
never do that in Europe.
yeah,
That would be
never.
not done.
People would look at you and stare at you up and down, like, what is this person doing here?
Yeah.
No matter
It's
who you are,
interesting that you say
dress
that
up.
because I will go into a grocery store straight after the gym, red-faced, no makeup,
You'd never see that.
and everyone is staring at me. Yet I know that any other woman who came from yoga and has, no offense,
Yep.
has no sweat on
That's
them
right.
and is very thin with their green juice, no one has cared.
Yep.
It's an interesting thing. It depends on the body.
Who you are
Yeah.
and what. Yep. That's so true.
But I just want to touch upon you, Egith, because, like, you know, you've been through some things and pivotal moments that have made you realize that things have got to change. So what are some of the tangible tools that you use on a daily basis to remind you as to why you shouldn't be conforming to what is the norm in society and also in your world?
Well, you know, I realized that I spent so much time during the day thinking about how I looked that I was like, what can I do at that time? I could have done so many more beautiful things with my precious time. But what really helped for me was meditation. I meditate every morning and every evening, and I'm very grateful and I feel very blessed every day, and I'm thankful. And I say that and I repeat that every day, and I try to be kind to my body. What do I want? I'm trying to listen to my body and not listen to what other people think, and really cut off that social media and everything around me and look at who I am. I'm happy with myself and I love myself, and I say that to myself every day.
It's all back
Yeah.
to self.
It is. What about yourself? What's your tangible tool?
My tangible tool is, I mean, it's kind of goes back to what Yael said. It's talking myself off the ledge, saying to myself, okay, Jesse, you done pulled your entire closet out and it looks like a bomb went off in your apartment. You don't have the time to come home and put all the stuff away. You don't have the mental capacity right now to be pulling at every fabric of shirt off of your waist, and now it's been 30-40 minutes and you were supposed to leave an hour and a half ago.
Yeah.
So it's like just being an adult. As you get older, you start hating things more because you're like, oh, my bones, I'm getting old, my this, my that. But you have to write it on the list. Tell myself I love myself. Rating celebrities from my social media, certain restaurants and things like that. I don't want to look at your marketing. I don't want to see that program. I don't want to eat that type of food. You know what I mean? That's been my thing. Just picking up the pieces and placing the correct ones down, laying the right bricks.
Yeah, well, I just kind of want to leave it on a funny, because this goes down to what Taryn was saying about don't carry on as an ungrateful asshole. There's bigger shit in life, basically, and essentially, we all started off as assholes in the uterus. Yes. Yes.
You
This
come
is
out
a fun-
kicking and
So
screaming.
This is
true.
a fun fact.
We don't wanna know,
The
but-
first thing that forms in the uterus is a digestive tract and arsehole. So that's what we were all like in the beginning. And I just want to say this, and this is something that I preached to in the past when I was teaching yoga, is that your superpower is your unique self. There's nobody like you. There's nobody who looks like you. There's nobody that functions like you. And just as what Taryn has said is that your body is your vehicle to your dreams, and you're only going to accomplish those dreams if you're going to like really just take care of yourself and be mindful of yourself. Doesn't matter what everything else is around you.
Well spoken.
Come on,
So
girl.
beautiful.
All right,
So
Jess.
beautiful people here.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming through. We appreciate you. And thank you guys at home for watching us. And join the conversation live in the chat room. We want you guys here every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Ladies, where can everyone follow you? Keep in contact and, you know what I mean, get some
social media.
Social media. We do have social media, right? So you can find me at Egith. Very easy.
Spell it,
Short.
so.
EGITH.
Boom.
Yep.
Perfect. I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL.
Yes. Well, thank you for joining us today. You can find me at Yasmine Tanreds. And where can we find you, Jesse?
Y'all can hit me up everywhere at DJ Jesse J. But right now, please just hit us up at Talking TED Talks. Let's build this community, this platform, so we can
Have conversations worth exploring.
amen. Till next
more.
week. Peace.
Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.